Hello, and welcome to Writers Group Therapy.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Roshni. We're writers helping writers with whatever writing ailments you might have.
Whether it's related to your craft or your career, we can help.
Are you ready for your session?
The doctors are in.
Well, hello, Tom. It's good to talk with you again.
Who are you?
I know, right? It's been...
Oh
my gosh, what?
Roshni's back. It's so... I missed you.
Oh my gosh, I missed being on the show. And you had some amazing interviews, too, while I was gone.
It's been fun. I mean, I'm lucky that I've had such great guests to interview, because when it's just you and me, you do a lot of the work. So...
No, it's been amazing. I'm so sorry I had to leave you in the lurch. I don't know what it was. It was like the industry just suddenly, it wasn't even like trickle. It was like floodgate. It was like the dam burst, and it was like everything. So for all of you out there who are like, hey, is Hollywood dead? The answer is no, it is definitely not dead. It's coming back to roaring life. So yes. Lots of good stuff going on.
Well, I'm glad you've been so busy, but we missed you here, and it's glad to have you back. And speaking of the business of Hollywood, Hollywood is here to make money, and that money has to be earned back somehow by people, and it costs a lot of money sometimes to get into entertainment, doesn't it?
Just a little bit. Just a tad.
Yeah.
It's amazing when you really think about it, how big of a barrier to entry it is to break into it, and how even big of a barrier it is to consume it. But we'll break down both sides. So
yeah, no, it's true. Getting into the business, you'd think would be pretty easy. Like go to an acting class or take a writing class. But it's so much more than that. First of all, just being in LA, which, you don't have to be, but it helps. That's an expense just off the bat, living expenses.
Not even LA, any city center like New York or Atlanta, even I think Austin's Texas is kind of like a space to watch, I feel. But yeah, Austin, now that everyone's moving there is going to be expensive, I'm sure. So any of the major city centers, just cost of living. I mean, even taking it back, training, like you said, depending on what it is you want to do, acting is a great example. Headshots, coaches, training, costumes, makeup, hair products. What else am I missing?
Well, not to mention just coordinating it all. You have to market yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, you have to go to auditions, for things that you're not going to get. So you're doing a lot of work that you're not getting paid to do on top of it.
And it is not true what they say about, there's this, I don't know if it's an urban legend, it's a myth, that if you get a ticket on an audition, like a parking ticket, it means you'll get the job. That is not true. I got a parking ticket. I was out $64 and I did not get the job. So don't believe that and look at the signs.
That's an urban myth of Hollywood.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Let's see, writing. I was thinking about things that writers have to spend to be in the business. Well, if you want to get noticed, sometimes you got to spend some money on contests, submit your scripts to contests, getting coverage, services like Inktip, Stage 32, the Blacklist. They all cost money if you want to use those. Otherwise, you can do it the old-fashioned way, just by knocking on doors, making phone calls, sending emails. But it seems like contests, are one way to go. So that's an expense.
I would think where a writer would spend their most money would be on a good computer and on Final Draft.
Oh, Final Draft is not cheap.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the industry standard, but it's not the only one. But, even the ones that they used to have some that were free, but like Script Buddy and Celtics, or I don't know if that's still free
Celtics
for a limited
or Celtics,
amount.
Yeah. I think it's subscription-based now.
Now they're all subscription-based, yeah.
And have you noticed that some of the writing programs, they don't necessarily play nice with Final Draft? They sort of play nice, but not really. So it's like you might as well just get the standard version instead of like trying to... Because trust me, I've tried to do like the workarounds, and you're just like, might as well pony up the money and buy Final Draft,
And I don't even know if the mobile version of Final Draft, which is only like $10, works if you don't have the full version. That's the weird part of that. So I think you have to have the desktop version. I could be wrong there. You might have to have the desktop version
Oh,
to use the mobile
yeah.
version.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you have the mobile version only and you writing on there, you can't exactly transfer it to anything else unless you have the desktop version. You can't, the buying the mobile version doesn't get you the desktop version.
Well, you know what's funny? When I had the mobile version, I can't use it on my phone. My phone is like, for me, my phone is for quick notes. I can't write a whole script on my phone. So then there's another cost if you wanna buy, like, an iPad or something so you can actually use the mobile version of Final Draft, and that's
Oh,
pricey,
okay.
you know what I
Mhm.
mean? That's already,
Right.
like, 5 to
Mhm.
800 right there.
Mhm. Yeah, you need an iPad, you need a tablet of some sort. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know if there's a Windows version actually or not.
I don't think there is.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
they're kind of, the industry was creative and that was Mac and that whole thing. So,
Yeah. You know what's funny is I feel like writers can kind of get away, especially now with, like, everyone going to Zoom, you can kind of get away without a car and all the associated payments, you know? Unless you wanna be, like, a writer-director or something like that. But I do
yeah.
feel besides the things like Inktip, also the classes, and I'm not talking like I mean, there's workshops and stuff out there that are, like one-day workshops, but, like, if you really wanna do, like, UCLA Extension or, like, classes out of USC or whatever like that, like a continuing education, that's expensive. Those are a couple thousand.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Fortunately I didn't. I'm just using whatever I can find on YouTube, and I don't know. I got some books. Save the Cat's not particularly expensive, and you have the library. You can always get books from the library too.
Mhm.
Yeah, but that's I think the writing is actually probably one of the cheaper of all the aspects of the entertainment business because you can do it anywhere. You don't have to like run around and do stuff as much until you get into like networking and things or going to events and seminars.
Mhm. But I would say for writing, for really anything, but I would think for writing, especially if you're writing outside of an industry center, yeah, you could probably take classes at your local community college, but then if you're going for let's say, like, you're in Ohio and you're like, "I wanna write for the LA market, but I wanna stay in Ohio," which people have done that, you probably wanna take classes that are LA based. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Because,
yeah.
not saying that the people where you're at don't have anything of value, but, like, they might not have the right credentials. They might not have up-to-date information, you know what I mean? And then you'll just spend your money somewhere that you really shouldn't have.
Yeah.
You're like,
So,
"Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah." I can see
yeah.
the wheels turning in your head like, should I maybe I should cancel that class at the community college."
Yeah, let me give me a second here. That side of it, yeah, the writing
Yeah.
side of it, all the education and all the networking and the submissions and stuff. That's where most of your expenses on writing.
But, like, have you ever thought real quick before we pivot to the other side, so I always thought that it's kind of like sports, I don't know, do you really follow sports a lot or not really?
I'm from Cleveland. I don't follow
Oh,
sports.
come on. Isn't football, like, a thing out there or whatever? But, like, have you ever
Yeah.
noticed, like, certain sports have I mean, not to sound whatever, but, like, there's more diversity in certain sports because there's a lower barrier to entry. It's really easy to play football, it's really easy to play basketball, you don't need a lot of equipment, and if you do, the equipment is cheap. But hockey hey, I'm from Michigan, and have you ever noticed a lot of people in hockey, you know what I'm saying? Because what do you need? You
Mhm.
need expensive equipment, you need a rink, you need rental time, you need access to those places, it's not like you can just pick up and
Mhm.
skate on a court, they don't have those. So it's really interesting when you look at the economics of sports and who's in them, and it's kind of the same thing with entertainment, aside from the dynasties, right, of directors who produce actor children and, like that. A lot of
Mhm.
people stay in the industry and learn from their parents. But yeah, I mean, I think
I mean, I have this, kind of want to be jaded at all, but yeah, there's the actor or the writer who's, living in a fancy apartment in, downtown LA and they don't have to have a day job because they've got, whatever trust fund and those kinds of things. Or sometimes there's some international folks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there are people who can play actor or play writer, and they don't have to work as hard as some people. So there is a division in that respect. So
Yeah.
in any place, any industry, there's going to be that where, if you're coming from the bottom, you have to work harder because you have to get over that minimum hump of expenses and living, and you have to work a day job and a freelance job and all of that just so you can do your craft.
Yeah.
So there is some of that, but it's not. I never really ran into it that much. I don't know. Maybe you did on the
Really?
actor side more, but I
Huh.
never, not on the writer side
You
as
never
much.
really noticed it, huh?
Not as much. I
Huh.
mean, I know I know it's out there, and because I know, like, not somebody's renting those $3,000, apartments in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I was going to say, though, going from writing, one of the things I was taught by some of my mentors was, the do-it-yourself route. And you've done it, and I've done it. We've made short films, we've done podcasts. That costs money. That's production.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, so getting into the business that way, lots of money. Yes, if you have friends, if you're not in LA, you can get friends to do stuff for free probably, but not so much in LA. But it costs money. You need equipment. You have to rent stuff. You have to get permits. You have to have insurance. You have to hire, crew. You have to try to pay people. You have to at least feed people. So it costs a lot of money to get into the business by the do-it-yourself method.
And I will say for writers, especially now, because I think a lot of things are kind of going not 100% DIY, but like maybe 50% DIY. At the very least, even if you can't find funding to produce your first feature, you need a sizzle reel. That's your
Mm-hmm.
calling card, even as a writer. And that's still going to put you back, at least I would say 10 grand. And that's cheap.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, the idea that you can just submit a script and get a deal or sell a script, it's, you literally have to put something visual in front of these development executives that
Mm-hmm.
you're pitching to, because most of them don't have time to read all the scripts they get handed, and they don't want to, and they don't know who you are unless you're a big name that they already know. You know, they're not going to get interested. So how do you get them interested? That's by doing some kind of proof of concept short video or a sizzle reel, like you said.
Yeah.
That gets you more attention, and again, costs some money. There are some lower budget ways to do it, using stock video and stuff like that, to kind of create very limited sizzle reels where it's not like really your story, but it's kind of like almost like a mood book kind of thing, but in video.
Yeah. I've seen those. I feel like you can go a couple ways with that. Like if I was going to do like what you're saying, like that visual mood board, that would be for internal pitching only. I wouldn't put that on YouTube or Kickstarter or something to try to get funding.
No, yeah, you wouldn't want, no.
It's strictly for just like pitching to executives, and nobody else outside of the boardroom sees it. But if you're trying to get eyes on it, to get interest, to get people to donate to you, or just to get interest so there's a buzz, then you do need to do something original.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I've missed chatting with you.
Yes, we're so speechless now.
But how about on the other end? I mean, so that's just to get into the industry, but what about just watching it?
Well, yeah, it used to be you had over-the-air television with commercials, and all you had to do was buy the TV, and then you had your entertainment. And if you wanted to go to the movies, that was what, a quarter.
A
back in the
quarter? Oh
day.
my gosh.
Not in my lifetime, but you know what I'm saying. It's come a long way,
Yeah.
obviously, from a few bucks to, you can spend $15 to $20 to go to a movie now.
What's the going rate out where you are?
It's not that high, actually. It's still like $7 or $8
For a nighttime show?
Maybe that's like a matinee.
Okay.
I think
That's good.
it's not bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's actually like half of what it is in LA.
That's like a third of what it is in LA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Yeah, although I haven't been to the movies much, so
You better take advantage of that. Oh my word.
well, I'm waiting for the infection rate to drop.
Okay,
but
fair enough. All right.
yeah. I still will probably only go to like matinees when no one else is there.
Yeah.
But still, I do it also to save money.
Yeah, of course.
I am cheap.
Yeah.
But no, actually, it's kind of exciting with all the competition in the streaming space. It does add up. If you've got Hulu and Amazon's raising their rates. Netflix is raising their rates. Now you've got HBO Max. You've got Paramount Plus, Peacock, and then the multitude of others. It all adds up.
Yeah.
Maybe you cut the cable, but it's more like you cut up the cable into little chunks, and now you're paying for it in separate
Again.
chunks.
Yeah.
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 Maybe it's not $100 like it used to be, but you still have to pay for your internet first. And that can be $40-$50 a month or more. And then you start adding $10-$15 a piece on top of that, and you're back up to $100 pretty quickly.
And I mean, like, I know there's workarounds, but like, you probably have to buy a smart TV to work all of that stuff. Or you buy the little, like, what is it, like the Fire Stick or whatever? You know what I mean? On older
Yeah.
TVs, you still need
The
to do a workaround.
Chromecast
Yeah.
or the Roku stick. Those are relatively cheap now. They can be $20-$25. So that's not bad. I mean, if you want to get into like Apple TV, then those are, $150 or more. And some of the other boxes, that you can get are a little more expensive.
But there might be a startup cost if you're like, well, I needed a new TV anyway. Great, now I got to buy a smart TV for like $500. I don't know. I don't even know what they're going. $500 is probably cheap. But
it depends. Well, you might be tempted by some of the new big screens and OLED screens, but TVs in general have come down in price over the years. So that aspect of it is much more reasonable. It's not cheap. And then there's the factor of, do they last very long? I had a TV that was pretty nice, but it just died on me one day. And, they cost more to repair than they do to
just buy a new one.
Yeah.
This is a random aside, and then we'll get back to the actual discussion. But I just realized, because we just had the Super Bowl, right, a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And usually you see a lot of ads for TVs. I don't remember seeing anything. And usually you see like, all the boxes of the people who, but they buy the new TVs and they're all sitting by the dumpster. I didn't see anything.
Right.
Did anybody buy a new TV this year? If you did, like, let us know in Twitter or wherever.
Yeah.
Be like, did you buy a new TV? Because I feel like nobody did. What was going on? Anyway.
It's maybe it's because of the pandemic. People bought new TVs earlier in the pandemic.
Oh yeah,
because they knew they were going to be home a lot, so they might have already gotten their big new screen, TV.
Oh, that's funny. Because it's usually Super Bowl time that they're like, "Hey, we have a TV special," and I do not remember seeing any ads for discounted TVs. Yeah. Anyway,
I actually have I have a tip though. I just subscribed to Paramount Plus. They had a birthday special of like $1 a month for the first 3 months. So that's a steal if somebody's looking to try Paramount Plus. Because I know there's a new season of one of the Star Trek shows coming out, Star Trek Picard, with Patrick Stewart.
Wait, I thought that was on CBS.
Paramount Plus is CBS.
Oh my gosh! Oh really?
CBS, yeah, and that's the other confusing thing is keeping them all straight. CBS All Access became Paramount Plus.
Oh,
so, and they wrapped in other things into it. I think they're wrapping Showtime into it as well, and some other properties.
Oh, that's the plus part. That's so confusing.
And Peacock is what NBC Universal,
and
gosh. so it's so hard to keep track of who's on what platform now.
Yeah,
right?
And then of course, like you were saying, you have to pay for it all and all that.
And it changes. Like you used to go to Netflix to get all the Marvel TV shows, but now they're off of Netflix. And now you have to go to Disney Plus to get the Marvel TV shows.
So confusing.
So things are shifting around as the networks, as the studios kind of become walled off, fiefdoms of their own content. You see the licensing deals start to evaporate from different places. Hulu was a joint deal between ABC, NBC, and Fox. But Disney bought Fox, so they own more of it, and then NBC is probably going to be bought out, and then their stuff's going to leave and go to Peacock, which is NBC, obviously.
Oh my gosh, my head is spinning trying to follow all of this. Oh,
so
my word.
All of us who thought we hated the cable company for charging us so much for getting all of our stuff conveniently in one place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a little bit of an idiot now. You can be careful what you wish for.
Okay.
Now you have to do all this mind work to figure out where everything is.
So, okay, like I never had cable. My mom had it after I moved out, so I don't really know the price. But basic cable is what, like $20 a month?
I honestly don't know. Like literally basic cable, like just your basic, local stations and
Yeah.
maybe a handful of cable networks.
Yeah.
Something like that,
I
maybe.
feel
I
like it
don't
was
know.
really cheap, like, definitely under 50, and it's only if you wanted, like, AMC or Turner Classic Movies or something that it got, because 'cause you're paying for the extras. So let's say cable is, like, we'll say 30 a month with inflation, but each streaming service, and they vary in price, they run anywhere from, like, 10 to 15 or higher, don't they?
Hmm.
What's the
Yeah.
highest, like, do you know? Like, what's the highest streaming?
I think HBO Max is normally about $15 a month. Netflix is going up to it just went up. I think it's going up to 16 or 17
Okay.
dollars a month.
So
Let's see.
that's, like,
It's
20 about 20 a month,
the
and how
premium plan is 20, yeah.
How many did we say we had? Netflix, Hulu I didn't count. Netflix, Hulu, Paramount, Disney, uh,
Amazon,
Amazon, Apple, Peacock. Alright, I'm already up to 7. Am I missing any? Oh, HBO, 8
HBO, yeah.
times 20 for each. You know,
Something like
you
that,
just
yeah.
paid 160 for,
Hmm.
you know oh
And
my
you don't
word.
have the option now. You used to have the option of pay TV or broadcast. I guess you still have over the air broadcast. That's always still an option. But,
Mhm.
there's, you used to be able to get like almost, everything on broadcast. But now I'd say the bulk of, quote unquote TV is streaming.
Yeah.
And most of the Emmy nominated shows and things are on streaming now.
And not just so, okay, we've already spent, let's say we'll round up. We'll say we spent 200 a month on all of these, apps because we wanted to watch everything. But then you also get into the issue of like when HBO or Disney were like, "Hey, we have a new movie and you can spend $20 on top of the sub fee to watch the new movie at home."
Right. Now that in some cases can be a deal. If you have a family, obviously that's going to be a huge deal because you could pay $30 to see a film at home with your own popcorn for 50 cents and and you, your wife and your 4 kids, for $30 and you could bring in pizza for an extra 10 or 20. Whereas if you went to the theater, for 6 people, now you're talking $100 or more, 150 plus the popcorn and everything else. In some respects it's great,
But
but
what I will
they're
say,
making out on the people like you and me,
yeah,
just one person or
That's
two people.
that's true, but the other thing I would argue, so one thing my husband and I really, like, noticed, I guess, during the pandemic, there would be places here, like, higher end restaurants, maybe, in the $30 a plate range or something, that we would
Hmm.
love going to, but we didn't want to order out because it was like the food wasn't as good when you took it home, and a lot of it
Right.
was you're paying for the atmosphere, but that's fine, you don't mind it because you liked going and the place looked beautiful and you had a nice night out and someone brought the food to your table and you were just in a different environment. And yes, you might be saving money for your family to watch at home, but you're still in your dirty living room. The kids' toys are everywhere. The cat threw up in the corner. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have that, like, let me just, it's something mental. It's nice to get away from it for a while,
Yeah.
you know?
No, absolutely. No, there's nothing like sitting in the big theater with the big screen and the speakers all around you.
Hmm.
So it's still worth it for that experience. I wish it wasn't so expensive, but then they came up with things like A-list for people who love to go to the movies. So that's another way you can mitigate the cost is if you do that. Now, again, if you have a family, now you have to buy a membership for each person, and I don't think they've come up with a family
Plan.
version of that yet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for, like, what was it, AMC Stubs or whatever they call it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought they heard they might be doing something like that, but I don't know if they actually came out with it. I haven't been looking at that further recently, though.
Oh, they're gonna have to do something to get people back. I mean, I think I saw recently, like, they're back in the black, like, things are getting better, but yeah, like, just
Mm-hmm.
to compete with all of that stuff, the streaming stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's already a barrier to consumption, $200
Mm-hmm.
a month. I mean, are there any other things as far as, like I mean, even as writers, because I know they tell us, like, you should have all the apps, right? Because, like, it's research, but I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, I don't wanna spend that much money."
Oh, yeah. I always wondered if I could deduct my Netflix because I'm researching all these things.
You can, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, although
Oh,
I mean, this is a whole whole 'nother discussion. It's harder to deduct things, but in theory, yes, you can. But you have to be able to
there you
prove it.
go.
Okay, guys? Don't just buy Netflix and say that you're doing research,
Yeah.
quote unquote. You actually have to be,
Do you
yeah.
need a letter from your boss saying, I require my employee to have all these services?
Right? The
Yeah,
joys of
something like that.
freelance.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if
And then
there's a
what if they check to see what you're watching? It's like, all you watch is The Walking Dead. It's like, what is that all you research? I'm working on a zombie movie. I
for
really have to.
kids? What? A zombie movie for kids. Yeah.
That's what we need. I think that's excellent.
Actually, that
Yeah.
would be fun. So I'm trying to think
Yeah.
what other like economic barriers would there be for consumption besides the streaming, which I think is already kind of crazy.
Well, the other thing is going to be, if you're talking about going to the movie theaters, it's kind of the desert of not having a theater near you, or especially with the theaters closing during the pandemic, especially in urban areas or in rural areas, you might not have a theater anywhere near you, so you might have to drive a long way to go to one, or it might be a real special event to do that.
Mhm.
They talk about it with food deserts where people don't have grocery stores in some urban areas, or they have only have very small ones that have very high prices. If you're in a major city, yeah, you probably have theaters, but they're more expensive. But if you're out in a rural area, you might not have one close by you.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about that.
So then you might have to get satellite dish. So you might
Yeah.
not even have cable in early. They talk about getting broadband to rural areas. It's a real issue
Mhm.
because it's all about population density. For a cable company to run the wires out to a tiny little town that has 50 people in it, but they're running miles and miles and miles of wire to get there. That's extremely expensive.
Yeah.
It's going to take a long time to recoup your money versus, wiring a suburb that has, a density that's 100 times greater.
Huh. Interesting.
So then that's why some of those areas wind up are Starlink is the new SpaceX satellite internet service that's coming online as they keep launching more satellites every few weeks. They're going to be able to provide high speed internet to most of the planet. So places that never had, let alone having cable, had never had internet or anything before, will have access to that. So that'll be a nice, it's not cheap, not yet anyway. Maybe the price will go down once they get more established in the market. But I can't remember what those units cost these days. Starlink costs. Oh, it looks like it's $500 for the hardware and $100 a month for the service. So that's not
Wow.
cheap. But if you live out in the middle of nowhere, it might be your only option. And if you live out in the middle of nowhere, you don't spend money on anything else.
That's true. Yeah, that's
So
true.
you can afford it, I guess.
But you're spending more on everything, like, just to get food
Yeah.
in and transportation
Hmm.
and all that stuff, yeah.
So you probably have Amazon Prime already.
If you can get Amazon, right, or, like, the Wi-Fi connection or whatever too,
Yeah.
you know?
Isn't that the weirdest thing though? Amazon Prime is the only streaming service that really wasn't a streaming service to begin with. It started as a shipping service, like a membership in Amazon, so you didn't have to pay for shipping. And then they added all this stuff to it, the music
Mhm.
and the video. So it's hard to separate the two. Yeah, when you pay for Amazon Prime, obviously you're getting more than just a TV subscription service.
Although, just side tangent on the Amazon Prime thing, you don't get the entire catalog, some things you still have to pay for. So that's also
Yes.
another barrier to entry because 'cause you're paying the subscription fee to have Prime, which I believe is actually going up, I wanna say
Hmm.
too.
It is like $20, I think, a year.
Yeah.
It's going up.
So you're paying for that, but then you might not get every movie that you want, and then you gotta pay for the movie, either renting it or buying it, so
Yeah, that I find that the major annoyance on their platform is that they have the little free with Prime, banner on
Mhm.
on the things that are free, and then there's all the other stuff,
Yeah.
and it's all mixed together, so it's very annoying.
I know it would be nice on Prime if at least you knew, like, okay, movies before 1970 are free or something like that, so you kind of had an idea of, like, what you would get, but there's no rhyme or reason for what's free and what you have to pay for, I've noticed.
I mean, yeah, in general, it's the new stuff, the theatrical stuff that's coming on, but it's not true because a lot of their stuff is just straight to video on demand. In fact, our movies are on there, Reclamation and Synesthesia, and they were free to watch if you had a Prime membership. but then Amazon changed their system. I don't know how they figured it out, but suddenly short films, at least ours, were no longer eligible to be watched for free. So they had to be
Really?
rented.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
so that's why I put them on Vimeo for free. Put those links in the show notes. You can watch something for free. But yeah, so because I wanted people to see them, so I didn't think people were going to pay even, I think it was $1 or something for a 12-minute short film. Although we do get some royalties still from that, so maybe people are paying to watch it. That's weird, but thank
Huh.
you if you are.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny. I mean, this is a side conversation. We don't need to go down this rabbit hole here, but I was just thinking too that, you know, things like Vimeo, I would never think to watch anything on Vimeo because to me, it was always used as like an internal industry thing to share high quality video with other like filmmakers, but it wasn't ever meant to be like a YouTube type platform where you consume new things. And I know it has that aspect of it, but I never it's branding, you know what I mean? Like, I'm stuck on the old
Hmm.
branding. So that was just a random aside, but yeah.
No, no, it's Vimeo is kind of it's an odd duck. It really started as a video hosting platform, not as a content distribution channel. It was more for businesses or individuals to post their stuff in order to submit it and send it to places,
Mhm.
or to share it on their websites and stuff like that. But they do have a lot of content on there. I don't know that it's as easy to search as you might think, but as a YouTube or whatnot. But there's a ton of content on Vimeo.
I know, and it's surprising. It's just not what I would it's not my first thought. When I'm like, "Oh, I wanna watch
Hmm.
something new," I'm not like, "Oh, I'll go on Vimeo," because
No,
to me, Vimeo is where they go and they send me my stuff so I can put it on my reel. That's Vimeo,
yeah.
you know?
Hmm.
So, huh.
Well, let's end on this question then. So, what do you spend where do you spend most of your entertainment time watching things? What's your number one platform?
And let's add in why. For me, it's YouTube, and mostly because it's free.
Good answer. Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't added it up, but as for hour per hour, I probably watch more YouTube. It's probably really close to Twitch because I watch a lot of Twitch too, which
Mhm.
is interesting because that's a whole different kind of content.
Yeah.
But I watch a lot of YouTube, a lot of Twitch, and even broadcast stuff I watch on YouTube. So I watch like
Yes.
the NBC News on YouTube.
Yep, I'll do that too. Yeah.
Hmm. So that, yeah, it's interesting we both had the same answer there.
Yeah. And you do it because it's free also?
Uh, it's accessible. I think it's more of a, I mean, I watch it because it's free, but I watch it because it's accessible. I don't have cable, so I don't have those broadcast channels. So a
Mhm.
lot of the broadcast stuff winds up on there if it's not on one of the streaming platforms I do subscribe to.
Well, here's one interesting thing about I know we said we would end this discussion. We're still going. Um,
One last
one
thing,
last
yeah.
thing. But another thing I think why YouTube is not just accessible, but it's easy because one of the YouTube creators I was watching for a while made a comment about how YouTube is not necessarily a content platform. It is a video search engine.
Hmm.
And that actually makes a difference if you do YouTube videos, like, your keywords and all that stuff makes the difference, like, what you put in your titles, because I mean, it's bought by Google, right? It's a Google platform, I believe, and it functions like a search engine, and so, when I'm watching stuff, yeah, it's really easy to be like, current events, whatever the days, and it comes up, or, I wanna watch how to do something video or whatever,
Hmm.
and it functions like a search engine versus, like, if you watch Netflix or whatever, you have to scroll, you have to know exactly what you're looking for in a way, you know? Like,
No,
you have to know
good
the
point.
title of the thing.
Hmm.
You can't just be like really, really funny story. What was it that I was looking for my mom? I'm trying to remember what the search was. I can't remember exactly. I think it was something Christmas, but it was also like I wish I could remember the exact word. It was something completely different, but it kept, like, giving me porn stuff, and I was like, "That's not what
Oh
I
my
want."
gosh.
But, like, I forget what the word was that I was looking for. It was something really innocuous, like, romance or Christmas romance or something, but, like, whatever word I kept putting in, they kept giving me porn sites, and I'm like, "You're not searching the way I want you to. We've never watched
Hmm.
porn on Netflix, we're never gonna. Like, I don't know why it thinks that I want this," you know? So that's what I'm saying, like, it's a weird Like, you kind of have to know exactly the title of what you
It's
want.
your cats. Your cats are searching for porn
maybe
on
they
YouTube
are.
on your computer when you're not around.
Maybe they are.
Yeah, and so once you get into that groove, they lock onto that and they keep sending you the same stuff.
Bad kitties, no treats
There
for
you
them.
go.
So anyway, how about for all of you? What do you guys like to consume your media on? Let us know.
How much do you spend?
Oh my gosh, let us know that.
In the meantime, thanks for listening to our podcast for free.